This is a clip from a long form podcast. And what you'll notice is that our content is different, it's more intelligent. Subscribe to our channel and continue receiving such amazing and intelligent content from Discovery of an Author. You mentioned that yes, there was some Western agenda. I mean, there must have been some Western strategy of demeaning or undermining our origins and our history, and that is why the Aryan Invasion Theory was very powerfully put forth. And a lot of Indian historians are to be blamed because they have been writing books since many years. I know Romila Thapar, I have read Romila Thapar when I was in 10th class because that was the only reference point for us, and I was absolutely convinced that we are alien. The Aryan-Dravidian divide is something which I still cannot digest right now. Earlier, I was like, "Okay, there must have been an Aryan invasion. We must have pushed them back, the Dravidians." But that also has been refuted. So first question, Mr. Jijit, why do you think that Western agenda is there? I mean, I sometimes don't understand. Why would anybody would want to undermine a nation's civilization? I couldn't get an answer for that. So I just want to understand this first.
Yeah, actually, as I always say, I have to tell the truth that is slightly in between, because there was no initially there was no intention to demean India, because when the first time the Europeans figured out that certain words in Sanskritam that is matching with certain words in Latin, for example, Greek, for example. So the most dominant theory of the Europeans was that all this entire language originated in India. So the out of India theory was the oldest theory. Even the Europeans were also talking about it. And then what happened is that this all happened 100 years ago, 100 or 120 years ago in the very late 18th, late 19th century and early 20th century, etc. So you may be surprised that the out of India theory was the dominant theory at that time. But slowly, what happened is that certain kind of political things happened. One is that British was ruling India, and the British ruled India. They found it a little bit difficult to manage the Indians. When your dominant theory is that even including the language or the languages like English and other European languages came from India. So that time, they have a kind of the theory as well as the British rule in India, they cannot be justified because they are like mutually contradictory. So that is the time when they have started searching for some methodology, etc. And then we cannot 100% sure whether how much amount of the political motivation entered into the this linguistics. But some linguists started looking at the construction of certain words, and they found one thing that when you follow this methodological construction of the ancient root of many words that is found in Vedic Sanskritam and German, French, or Russian, or Greek, or Latin, that is not exactly converging into the Vedic Sanskritam. It is converging into some other language which is slightly offset from the Vedic Sanskritam. And that part is, it's not false. It is even true even today. But then they call that particular language as Proto-Indo-European language as the mother of all the languages, including Sanskritam and the other European languages. So up to that point, they were correct. And even now, even I don't refute the theory that the Proto-Indo-European is the oldest language. From there, the Vedic language is a kind of one of the child language of the Proto-Indo-European. Where they have they went wrong is in identifying the location of the Proto-Indo-European language. So they have actually their linguistic construction was 95% correct, because 5% we cannot say because these are probabilistic and statistical based calculation. But 95% is correct. But where they totally went wrong, when 100%, I would say 100% they went wrong is in locating the Proto-Indo-European language. And they have done some jugglery there. Maybe politics have entered into that. And the initial, their plan was, their point was that it is in Germany. So that is where the Nazism, everything started. And then based on so much of gymnastics, intellectual gymnastics, they say the geographical location of the Proto-Indo-European is Germany. and then onwards this politics starts. So basically the politics is primarily about the geographical location of the Proto-Indo-European. But many of the nationalists of India, they wrongly think that the politics is also there in the formulation of the Proto-Indo-European language, but that is false. That is why, as I am saying, there is a middle ground here. They are right in terms of formulating the Proto-Indo-European language, but even today also in mathematical reconstruction, you can get that Vedic Sanskritam is a kind of a child language and not the actual parent. But 100% we can, with all the evidence, even including my books and my predecessor Srikant Talagiri's books, it is very clear that this geographical location of the Proto-Indo-European was within India. That is where they failed. And so you can say the geographical location of Proto-Indo-European is slightly politically motivated, starting with the German nationalism. And once the Germans started positioning it into Germany, and there are some other linguistic theories which slightly put in different locations like South Russia and even Ukraine, like that. So this is going on. I mean that kind of wrong models are continuing even today, even though they are very much weakened.
So, but why do you think that the Germans were imposing this thing? Because of their fascination with the Aryan race? Because they used to think that that was a superior race? They wanted to push their agenda forward?
Yeah, the primary agenda was not related to India. The primary agenda was to see that the Germans were the most superior race. And they wanted, they themselves wanted to be considered as the pure Aryans.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit backdrop here, because even that may be good for the audience. Because you see, the Europeans were highly rating the knowledge in India, because in the 15th and 16th century, there is something called European Renaissance that occurred.
Yeah.
Because of which they have slightly moved from the dogmatic religion, that is the Christian religion, which was interfering with all the kind of politics, everything.
And they started in France, right? The genesis happened in France of the European Renaissance.
Yeah, everything happened in France, but it was all over the Europe.
Yeah.
And that is how the European nations become advanced in science, etc. because of that. Because they just freed themselves from the dogmatic Christian religion.
Yeah.
And for that, for freeing them from the dogmatic religion, they use the knowledge that is translated from the Indian texts, like Vedanta, etc. So,
and that we know for sure, that this is what they refer to. I mean, this is what they then read. Wow.
Correct. Yes. So it is, you can see the writings of Voltaire and similar kind of contemporaries during the Europe. Basically, the fuel for Renaissance came from the Indian books on Vedanta, Upanishads, etc. So the entire Europe, it will be like a kind of irony, but the entire Europe was totally fascinated by the knowledge of India. And earlier they were aware only about the knowledge from Greece, and they were thinking that Western civilization originated in the Greek knowledge. And initially, after freeing themselves from the Christian dogmatism, they were very much fascinated by the Greek knowledge, etc. But now they found 10 times more powerful, 10 times more valuable knowledge from India. And it became very clear that compared to Greece, India have 10 times more knowledge, and they were still discovering more knowledge. So there was a sense of, initial appreciation. Suddenly, for some countries like Germany, it led to the situation where they say, we are the owners of this. So they wanted to appropriate this entire knowledge that is there in India, saying that these are the knowledge coming from the Aryan race.
Got it.
And this Aryan race is German. That is, it originated in Germany. And whatever we see the Aryans in India, they are powerless, or they are inferior quality because they mixed up with the Dravidians.
And also dark-skinned. I think one of their...
They are dark-skinned and they are of inferior quality because these noble Aryans from Germany, once they slowly migrated or invaded India, these Aryans, the noble white Aryans slowly become black in color because of the mixing with the Dravidians.
Yeah, locals. Yeah.
So a pure racist theory originated. And this is when the India started into the equation. So till that time, it was only German nationalism. And then now its a side effect resulted into a kind of vilification of Indian Aryans, or whatever they considered as Aryans, native Aryans. And they started mapping the Brahmins of India as like originating, their ancestors originating in Germany or in Europe, but reaching India get corrupted because of the intermingling with the Dravidians. So this is a pure racist theory that has been planted, and even this Germany have not colonized any of the nations, but they intellectually they have colonized. I mean, they were an intellectual colonizer, and the Britishers were the actual colonizers of India. They took that particular theory because it suit well with their the plan of ruling India in a divide and rule kind of a methodology. So German intellectual ideas adopted by the British and planted into India. That is how we ended up into this situation.
That is very fascinating. I had no idea. I thought that this was the original British strategy of being ideologically and intellectually also controlling us, apart from being militarily controlling us. But this is very fascinating because I think at that time Germans were at a very superior leverage in terms of everything, in terms of military, in terms of innovation, in terms of science and technology as well.
They were considered as thinkers in linguistics, science and technology. Everywhere the Germans had a high superiority, and even Germans themselves considered they are better, far better than any other European nation.
Yes,
even British or anybody.